Hello, Cordell. Thank you so much for for your time today.
Okay, my pleasure, DJ. Happy to be here.
Yeah, nice. You're effectively a fourth OpenBB champion, I believe. So yeah, it's great. It's great to have you. And
Thank you.
yeah, for the people that will be watching this at home, start by your background. Who are you?
Sure. Oh, my name's Cordell Tanny, born and raised Montrealer. I've been in finance for about 23 years now. So after graduating McGill University with a bachelor's degree in biology, I decided that my plan of becoming some genetics researcher or a doctor was not going to happen. So I gradually got into finance, started having taken my CFA courses back in 2000. So over my 23-year journey in finance, I've done a number of different roles pretty much in this business, having worked my way up from someone who had zero experience in finance at all, pretty much all self-taught, having picked up the CFA books, till, I spent the majority of my career, I spent a good 8 or 9 years with Standard Life Investments, where I worked as a quant analyst and as a portfolio manager, helping to manage a Canadian multi-asset mutual fund product that had about $2 billion. My primary role in that job was to do all of the portfolio optimization and the manager selection. So that would be to interview all the potential portfolio managers that would have been used within the fund-to-fund products. So I spent close to 10 years with Standard Life. I also have experience at working as a registered investment advisor and as a portfolio construction consultant. So, my background is, it's just interesting having come from that biology science background and then having to make that leap over to finance. I had some great mentors along the way, very good mentors, but I am primarily a self-taught person, having done the CFA, the FRN, and even when it comes to the coding in Python, I'm pretty much self-taught. And that's what I love. I love just being able to pick up something new and learn it. So currently, I just started my own company called Trend Profits, where we are offering subscribers access to the long-term investment strategies that I've built that use various quantitative techniques and AI and machine learning to help identify the underlying trends of the market. And we plan on launching in the next 1 to 2 months.
Nice. Thank you for the introduction. That's definitely an unusual journey, and it's crazy what you've achieved like on your own, like the CFA, now Python. Yeah, very interesting. And yeah, what motivates you? What motivated you to go through all of that like on your own, then learning like Python, now starting your own business, like you're doing all of these like on your own. What motivates you at the end of the day?
Well, I would say the primary motivating force that I have in my life is I can't stand it when I see something that I don't know how to do. I don't like it when I see somebody else that knows how to do something that I don't. And I just will say I need to learn that. And I will do whatever it takes for me to learn that skill and just to add it, especially if I have a project in mind, especially if I see something that I know I want to get done. And then I see that there are skills out there that I'm going to need to help me. Nothing's going to stop me from getting it done. So, I mean, and I realized a lot of that, going through my career, especially in 2014, 2015, while I was at Standard Life, and Standard Life was being acquired by Manulife Asset Management, another Canadian behemoth. And I was integrating more and more with more quantitative teams. And look, I've always been great at Excel, great at Visual Basic, but that's when I started to realize that I needed to improve my skill set. And Python was really what was most attractive to me, given the easier, the learning curve is a little bit easier than with R or some of the other languages out there. So by 2014, 2015, I really got interested in statistical learning. No one was calling it machine learning yet. It was still statistical learning. And I just dove into it because I knew I needed to improve my skill set. And as I was doing that, and I saw the power of it, and I kept researching and researching, it just combined perfectly with some of the stuff that I was trying to build even back then for what is today Trend Profits.
Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah, you were early. Not after the hype. You started like very early with all the AI and machine learning.
Yeah, I saw it coming. I just saw the trend coming, and based on a lot of the models, and I realized the applicability, especially when I was managing that mutual fund, because it was the target volatility.
Yeah.
It was really risk management was a big focus of the portfolio construction process. So when I started looking into some of the models that I was seeing, either within clustering models or even just something as basic as the support vector machines, that I was like, wow, this is something that I don't see being done by my competitors or other portfolio managers in the field. And I was always looking for anything unique that I could add into the portfolio management, portfolio construction process. And look, and I'm so passionate about this kind of stuff. The second I see any kind of new mathematical approach, I'm going to explore it and to see if there's anything that, I'd love to find things to do that people just haven't thought of or haven't done before. That is really a main driver for a lot of how I build things.
That makes sense. And how are you seeing the CFA like program evolving from when you started doing it now and now? Are you seeing like more Python? Are you seeing more machine learning and AI? If with your experience, are you seeing it shifting like over time?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's actually a very interesting question because I've seen a lot of debates going on things like LinkedIn, especially within the CFA members group, about the merits of starting to introduce more of these data science and Python into the curriculum. You're going to get more of the traditionalists, the ones like, no, this is supposed to be a course about the CFA, financial analysis and forecasting, balance sheets and income statements, and whereas some people are even calling this whole Python data science thing a fad. But yes, as the curriculum has moved more to embrace these new things, you're getting, a lot of resistance from some of the older generation that don't believe the CFA program should be shifting to a fad, what they call a fad, which I personally believe is completely wrong. I guess the main argument you can see is that there's a limited amount of material that you could put in the curriculum. So if you put something new in, something has to come out. But you know what? Look, life is about evolution, and the CFA program needs to evolve with the times, and especially as new technologies come out, we'd be foolish to ignore them. So I personally think it's a great idea for the CFA to start embracing these things, but it is very, and I do look at all the refreshers. I do look at the text that they make available to CFA charter holders, so that we can keep up with the changes in the curriculum. So I have been keeping up with it over the years. I am happy to see these changes. And I think, as more and more people embrace this, the more it'll be accepted.
I'm seeing even like at academia level, the curriculum is slowly changing. Like even in the past 2 years, we're seeing more and more Python coming in, classes having more Python, being going from being mostly Excel only to slowly integrating Python to even becoming mostly Python and having Excel as the complement, which is crazy, and it's been moving quite fast. At least that's my impression from talking with the students and professors.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree with that. I mean, if I even look at my own personal workflow now, having been 100% Excel, I'm down maybe to 15-20% Excel. Especially for the fact that I'm building quant strategies, AI strategies for subscribers and potentially for institutional clients. The Excel is just really more, if I need to do something incredibly quickly where I just have to do a couple of formulas, I'm doing Excel. Anything else, it's all going to go through Python. The universities are picking up. I've actually been approached by a number of professors from various universities that are looking to build out some of their AI and finance programs, which I love. Look, it's great. It's obviously a demand factor. It's demand driven. So what are you going to do to meet that demand? You have to increase the supply. So hey, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I'm very happy to see it.
Nice. And shifting a bit the topic, how did you hear about OpenBB? When was it the first time that you heard? And yeah.
I would think it's probably about a year now, and it was through LinkedIn posts. I think I saw somebody else sharing something on LinkedIn about OpenBB, and I was very curious, and I just started to explore it from there. And so that's really, it was a lot of just really on what I saw on LinkedIn. I'm not the biggest social media user, so LinkedIn is pretty much the only one that I'm on a lot, mostly for work, and it's a great way for me to stay on top of certain topics and certain organizations or people that I like, that I follow, that I can learn from. So that's how I found out about OpenBB, and I started exploring it pretty much right after that. I just thought it was such a great idea.
What
Doesn't
what
work for everyone. Who's not going to love that?
what was the first product that you started using it? Like how was your, like, your experience? Because 1 year ago that we actually came out of like stealth mode. It was like last year in March. So we've actually, like, from being OpenBB officially, it's been like only one year and a half. So 1 year ago when you were hear about us, we were pretty new, as in, like, now we
Yeah.
have like a the platform, which is like the SDK. We've got the terminal, which is like interactive shards. We've got like the bot. We were working on the pro. At the time it was pretty much just the terminal, I think. The
It
bot
was
came
the
out
terminal. Yeah.
later.
It
Yeah.
was the terminal that I was looking at first, and mostly just for just looking at company financials, things like that. And I was really just exploring it. I hadn't really understood everything that it can do, right off the bat. I would say it's really
Yeah.
only the past 5 or 6 months, probably earlier this year, when I started integrating it much more in my workflow, and I started to realize, okay, now I see how I can use this thing. I was using the terminal a lot. I found some screens really cool just for some quick market monitoring, just to see top movers, things like that, or some of the stuff that I was looking at for the ETFs, some
That
company
makes sense.
financials. But it's only really in the past, I would say, 5, 6 months, that I started diving much more into the SDK, when I
Yeah.
realized, okay, you know what, this can really streamline a lot of what I do now, instead of having to use 4, 5, 6 different data providers, write different functions, and find different ways to aggregate all of my data. This started to, okay, now I'm starting to really see the value uh, for just for that one particular element. I'm still finding, especially as you come out with newer and newer features, I'm always finding new things in the terminal that I know I'm going to be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, that's so interesting, and is a common trend that we are seeing, because so we started with the terminal, right, and then we found the need to create an SDK for it so that people could build their own integrations and workflows. But the SDK was built off as a second thought, right? We had the terminal and we decoupled it to have the SDK, and what we started realizing is that actually all of our champions and people that are actually really power users, they are using the SDK at the main core. So the terminal ends up being a way for them to do like dataset discovery of what they can do with the SDK. And that's like really interesting. And so now and this is why, like, last week we had the call about this developer preview event, because we rebranded the SDK to the platform, because we have like now this shift of mentality. Let's focus on having these like platform being really good for people to build on top. So whether that is like doing a notebook just to do some quick research, whether it is to do like a production ready app, whether it is to do anything, like even a bot. We're gonna open source our bot soon, so that people can build their own bots for their company, whether it is in Discord, Slack, Telegram, and so it's been a journey for us to understand that what people want is actually not just the app ready to consume. They actually want these like data standardization and integration from multiple data providers in a way that they can consume it on what they are building. And yeah, it's so interesting that that's actually when you started finding more value in OpenBB, was when we released the SDK. And yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to look at it also this way, right? I mean, I don't have to tell you, being a founder, the hours that you're putting in, and, obviously you're going to want to maximize your efficiency, right? So, I'm spending so much time having to build out some of the infrastructure for trend profits. I mean, most of trend profits, especially with a lot of back testing of the strategies. I had to get in the data, the signal processing algorithm, that's the heart of trend profits, right? I mean, that's something, it's a mathematically driven thing, but I still need a lot of data to feed into it for the various ETFs and the various things that I was testing. And then it was really when I started, okay, I have all these other things that I need to do around it to start promoting my company. Like I need to be able to do certain things, research, whether it's for blog posts, for videos, that I just realized, what, like, how am I going to do this and efficiently, right? Because let's say it's something as simple as, okay, this is how my strategy goes. Okay, what if I want to compare it to the S&P 500, but specifically between March of 2008 to March of 2009? And then I realized, okay, well, how am I going to do this? Like, okay, this could take me, okay, I got to download the prices. I got to write all the formulas, do all the price changes. Okay, it's not that difficult. But if I have to do this over and over again, right? Once you need to do something more than twice, you're going to need a process. You're going to need some kind of process so you can do this quickly. And that's when I started building out a lot of my own little investment management platform. It's almost like a mix of Bloomberg and Morningstar Direct. So just so that I can replicate what I would do back in the day when I had access to all of these expensive, fancy software packages, but now I'm on my own, I have to do research. I'm not going to write a new script every single time I need to do something. So I needed something to help me. That's where the SDK came in. I'm like, okay, look, now I can at least centralize all of my macro and everything right through OpenBB. I can just pull it in with the one function from OpenBB instead of having to write one function for every different provider. I mean, look, you could do it. But again, why would I replicate stuff over and over again when I have a product right there in front of me that can streamline everything? So that's been the main driver for why I've been using the SDK so much, is because I need that flexibility, right? I still actually go into the terminal quite often, mostly just, I still own some quality stocks, buy and hold stocks for myself, for my family. I need to follow them here and there. So OpenBB is fantastic for that, because then I can just look at all the financial statements. I could look at all the ratios very quickly. I'm like, yeah, okay, nothing's going to change with this company. But no, I mean, I'm primarily using the SDK, and it's so I can do research. It's so I can write.
It's the control, right? Also the control that you have to do anything you want, right? And then it just works. You don't need to worry about it. You can repeat it. Yeah, I get it. And so I'm assuming that a lot changed in your workflow before and after you started integrating with the OpenBB, the SDK, or what we call it now, the platform. Do you want to share a bit, like, an example of something that you have worked or,
Absolutely.
through words?
No, absolutely. Because like what I would tell you in terms of my workflow, I mean, it's always, before I share it, I'd even say it like this, it's one thing that I've always had on my to-do list. I need to build my own investment management platform. I need to replicate Morningstar Direct or Bloomberg. I need to do something so that I don't have to repeat myself over and over again. But it always just stays on the to-do list because you know how much work is involved. Like, that's a major undertaking. Time I just don't have. I need it for everything else that I need to do. But now that I have the OpenBB and the SDK, it's given me that little bit of the impetus, the push to get it done now. Because now that I have all these tools available to me, and it just got me going. It got me at least the momentum that I needed to start building what I'm about to share with you. And at the same time, look, I don't have to create it all in one day. My plan is to gradually add things onto something like this over time. And the OpenBB is pretty much the heart of it in terms of how I'm going to do the data gathering, the data aggregation. So sure. Let me share my screen. I still have to come up with a better name. But again, this is really just my own little internal thing, and I will probably put this up as a web app hosted on Python anywhere. So I don't, just so that it's always there for me. I don't have to be on my computer. I could access it on my phone or anything. But the main thing behind this, right, as I was just explaining, is I need a centralized research kind of platform that I can do, whether it's for blogs, for videos, or for trend profits, for any of the supporting material that I need. But as a former portfolio manager, I need to stay on top of the markets. I need to see what's going on. And that includes macroeconomics. It includes looking at sector performance, factor performance. There's just so many things that I need to stay on top of that, not just stay on top of it. You need to be able to do it quickly, efficiently. So one thing I used to do as a portfolio manager, the first thing I would do in the morning, get in the office, is probably open my Bloomberg and start cycling through 100 to 200 different charts, especially, as new economic data points were coming out that morning. So I needed a way to replicate that. I needed to find a way to efficiently reproduce everything that I used to do on Bloomberg and get it done quickly too. So one of the main things that I do that I need to look at very often is just, it's macroeconomics. So I just put up, here just some links. I'm going to keep populating here more links as for the key sites that I tend to visit all the time. These are just two that I tend to use either for certain stock quotes, or actually I don't really use Yahoo Finance that much anymore because there's just no need once you're a Python programmer and you have OpenBB. I think I probably just use Yahoo Finance on my phone to check some quotes when I'm on the move. But trading economics for me is indispensable because it's a great little site just for looking at the macro data points as they come out. So if I just start even with macroeconomics, right? So one thing that I like to do is I've got so many indicators that I like to look at, right? Something, when it comes to macroeconomics, pretty much everything that we look at is to help us forecast what GDP is going to do, right? And then you can break down GDP into its components, and then all of those components can be broken down, and you're trying to get an idea for where each of those components are going. So the way I typically break this down for macro is just a lot of what we call the first order indicators, or things that will directly help you try and figure out where most of these components are going. So right, if you think about the components, you've got consumer spending, which would probably fall under retail sales. And then you're going to have, business spending. So that's really, you can get stuff from industrial production that goes in there. And then you've got government spending, and then exports, imports. And then, you definitely want to keep an eye on inflation. I think anyone that's been around for the past 2 years knows how important inflation and interest rates are. So those are the key areas that I want to monitor. And now I can do all of this directly with OpenBB as I'm accessing the various data sources. So I'm getting a lot from the Federal Reserve, that's from Fred. Some are going to actually come from my own licenses that I have with other data providers, which I'm able to set up the key directly in OpenBB, which is great because then I could access that stuff directly through OpenBB instead of having to write separate functions, and then potentially the data is coming in different formats, and then I have to manipulate the data, then concatenate it all together. This makes it a lot easier. So, but what makes this really powerful is when I can start combining that data that I'm getting from OpenBB with applications like Streamlit and Plotly. And that's essentially what you're seeing here. Everything you're seeing here is a combination of essentially OpenBB, Plotly for the graphing, and then Streamlit as the web app. So with just these things, I can create this really powerful thing which replicates perfectly what I was doing in Bloomberg. So even if I just take, let's go like US GDP. So even if you're looking this over here, it's a nice colorful chart that shows the breakdown of each component, the four components, main components of GDP. But what I can do here is, I could zoom, first I can just focus on the graph here. I get all my hover data points, but I could, where is it? Sorry, there it is. Just the video is blocking my controls. I could zoom in, I could move this around. I could focus on any one point. And so it's just really, really incredible, the combination of everything that I have here. And this is, this is exactly what you can do in Bloomberg, this kind of manipulation of the data, zooming in. So it's just been fantastic for me. The other things I really like about this, right, especially when I just look at the power of Streamlit, when you start integrating all these things together, if I look at, I could have all of these graphs just here in one spot, and I could easily just cycle right through them, zoom in if I need to, and this was always a great feature that I love doing here, is putting in the recession bands. I mean, this is just going back to 2014. We've only had one recession, but this is a great thing that you'll see on a lot of, the high-grade software systems out there when you're graphing, is the ability to put in recession bands, so you could highlight how some of these indicators do during a recession, like, employment, falls off a cliff in a recession. So adding in these recession bands is just so powerful for me. It's a nice little, that's a
reference
that can be added in. Yeah, it's the reference, but it's just something that you would do on Bloomberg. Advanced charting packages give you the ability to do these kind of things. So And Python absolutely gives you that ability. And if you wanted to just add your own little rectangles here and there, you would just have to write one simple function, put that function with the parameters that you needed into the Streamlit, and you could get text on this. You can put a band. I mean, Python gives you so much flexibility, probably gives you more flexibility than Bloomberg would, because now I've got control over what I'm seeing. Some of the other stuff that I like to do is just to monitor sector performance. So this one's actually coming directly from OpenBB. So as I explore more and more of the features that come from OpenBB, and I know more and more is going to come out, this allows me to just pull in a preset table, and then I can even manipulate some of the data. Again, this is why the SDK is so powerful, because what you're seeing here, these are the US sectors, and everything up until the price to free cash flow over here, this is coming in directly from OpenBB. But I also want to see earnings yield, and I want to see the free cash flow yield to give me a different measures of sector valuation. And this way, I can just manipulate some of the data here, take the reciprocal of the PE to give me the earnings yield, same thing with the price to cash flow, and I can very quickly see where all the value is in some of the sectors. I also love that this provides me forward PEs and the PEG ratios, because that's not always something you could easily get on your own, the forward PEs. It would probably take a lot of searching to finally get it. So I love the fact that you've got the forward PEs in this table. I find that's it's a very interesting thing to have here. Nice. And then I can do the same thing with the performance. So these are the same things, the S&P 500 sectors. Yeah, I know I'm Canadian, but I always joke around, no one really cares about Canada. So we tend to monitor the United States more anyway. And I could easily see all my sector performances here. I can sort them. That's another great thing that you can do with these built-in features in Streamlit. And I can immediately see the year-to-date sector performance, how everything's doing. I can put in my own volatility measures. I've annualized them myself. So another example of how I can manipulate the data here. But another great thing that I figured out as I was building this is, well, I don't just look at sectors, I look at factors. So I was able to use this same table that we did for sectors, but pick the investments that would go into the table. So then I can just select some of the ETFs that I use to monitor these factors, the factors that are important to me. And here you go. I get all the performance for factors. So it's I got my own little customization going here in terms of what I'm seeing, and I got this great little performance dashboard that I can just pretty much look every day, every morning. And especially once you have this running as a web app, I don't need to run anything off of my pie chart and to enable the Streamlit server. So it's just so powerful what you can do. And then you can do the same thing for technicals, and I'm still building out some of the other stuff. I mean, there's so many other things that I'm working on to build here. One of the big sections that I'm adding in here is more in research, my own customized research part here. So let's say somebody says, okay, well, I need to figure out what the performance of the S&P 500 was between a specific time period. Or if I give you 5 investments, I want the trailing returns, I want the calendar returns, I want to see rolling returns. I'm a big lover of rolling returns. I never like looking at something as a snapshot in time. It's so much better to see how things do over time. So I've got a branch that I'll be merging in GitHub at some point over the next week or so as I continue to test it out. I got another branch that'll be merged into main, so that I could start I can start adding in my research platform, because eventually, the way I'll set it up is through Streamlit. So I can put in my own tickers. I don't have to change the code. It'll all be set up with input boxes, drop-down boxes, so I can do things quickly and produce the graphs, export the graphs, I can put my company logo on it. Okay, that's something that I've been working on for quite a bit. It's actually quite easy to do. If I even showed you this, do you see this?
Yeah. So
this is just an example of one of the blog posts I'm putting out. But see, I got my trend profits.
I like
logo
the watermark.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So a lot of this is what I will be doing. I got my brand colors in here. So a lot of this is just what I'm going to be able to do once I continue building this out. So I've got big plans of what I want to do here, and OpenBB is a huge part of it. So.
That's really interesting. So right now you are using these mostly like internally, but like in the future you intend to build similar stuff for your customers, or using like Streamlit, OpenBB, and Plotly, or
Honestly, I don't really know yet. I mean, a lot of it, yeah, it is internal. I don't want to necessarily get in the business of being a market monitoring service. Okay, they're,
yeah.
I think OpenBB is probably much better positioned to do that. And based on what I've seen from you guys, and I know what you guys are going to come out with, I might not even need to do this in a year or 2 years, because I'll just go to OpenBB as you guys add more and more features, right? I'm sure I'll still always pull data in, manipulate it and stuff like that. But I know what amazing things you guys are going to come out with. Now, it's not really something I intended to offer my customers. However, down the road, what I think is more likely, is when I come out with more models, more and more models, more and more subscription services for clients, that will probably run off of a web engine, because they're not all going to be just like trend profits where we provide the signals for when it turns to a buy or when you're supposed to be sitting in cash. So that's our main product, is that we supply these buy and sell signals based off the signal processing, the algorithm, and the machine learning models. So the idea, down the road, is if I start introducing, let's say, more tactical asset allocation models or things like that, well, then I'll be able to give the ability to customize it, and then you could select your own tickers and things like that. Or, there's other models that I'm working on where there would be user-defined parameters, where that would then pull in the data from from OpenBB and then run off our models. That is more of a longer-term plan. But one thing at a time. Got to get the company launched, and of course, like everybody else, got to get subscribers. Got to get
That's exciting.
I need people to love us. So.
1-2 months. That's coming soon.
Very soon.
On that note, like, what's where do you want to take Trend Profits? Because obviously you've been like working for this in quite some time. I mean, last we spoke, you were already working on this. I'm really excited to see, when you guys come out, and like, what's your like, grand plan, like, what success looks like, or
Well, success is just that, obviously that we gained a community. I don't want someone to just feel like they're just getting the signals from us. Because we're going to be putting out blogs, I'm going to be doing webinars, I'm going to be giving people access, to my experience. So if people have questions on the markets, or they want to learn these things, that's what I want to provide our community, is to have, access to the blogs, the videos, just give them a benefit of my experience, so they could learn from my biology to finance journey and all the amazing things that I've learned through my career that I love sharing with people. So I want people to get that experience. Success for us is, people making money with us, right? I mean, that's what our job is. Our job is to give people a long-term wealth system, right? It's not for day trading. It's this is a long-term. The whole point behind our thing, as the name Trend Profits implies, is we are focused on the long-term trend. What Trend Profits does is we use our algorithms to filter out the short-term volatility, the short-term noise from the market, and focus on the long-term trend signal that comes out, and then you just trade off that trend. And we have a lot of AI models that help optimize the parameters to know when it actually is the best time to get in and out of the underlying strategies that we have. So success for us is people making money, right? I mean,
Love it.
That's our job. That's our
Love
job.
it.
So we're launching, the site's almost built. I'm right now also getting all of our videos. We want to make this user friendly. We want people to understand exactly, because our market is anyone who does any kind of investing, any do-it-yourself investor out there. Even financial advisors, you can get very sophisticated, or you can get people, I just have an advisor at the bank who doesn't pay any attention to me. I'd like to get some other, newer technologies to complement what I'm already doing. I mean, we can be used by anyone who wants to invest or has a discount brokerage account. So, we got to get the site up and running. I'm doing videos, we're doing blog posts. And so there's just a lot of activities like that we're working on right now. And we're just testing the site. The site's in the final stages of testing, making sure everything's ready for us.
So this video is probably gonna be launched like in the next 1-2 months. So I'm assuming that when it comes out, Trend Profits is actually like, out there. So what's the call to action for people watching this video now? What is do you already have the website URL that you want them, like, what
Yeah.
do they want to do to connect with you, or yeah?
Well, they can scan the QR code that's
There you go.
And yeah, we're trendprofits.com. And so our projected launch date is going to be mid-October. That's what we're aiming for right now. We still have a couple things we need to work on, and then once that's done, we will be doing a lot of social media outreach. So you'll be seeing us all over the place. We're going to be advertising. We're just going to be doing a lot of community outreach, getting involved. I'm hoping to be speaking a lot of conferences, also in the future. I'm very active in the Montreal AI in finance community. So we'll see how that goes. But the idea is just, first let's get the product up, let's launch it. As everyone who's done this kind of thing before, you do your little bit of A/B testing at first. You see what works, what people respond to. You improve that messaging as you go. I mean, ultimately, the call to action here is come to our site, check us out, and see what we do. And I think I think anyone who sees the results are going to just absolutely be amazed by it. I mean, the key message that we want to get across to everyone out there is that, long-term wealth creation, it's not just about making money when the markets go up. It's also about protecting capital when things don't go well. And that's really the people really need to focus on, is protecting capital is incredibly important. And, if you miss out, if you were able to avoid some of the worst days that the market has, power of compounding growth, when you don't go down that much, it's just an unbelievable result. So
that's the chart. That's the chart that you were sharing before.
That was exactly the chart that you saw over there. Was whenever the markets sell off, because the advisors, the whole finance community has to keep you invested. They don't want, what's the biggest destroyer of wealth? It's emotions, right? People tend to make emotional decisions, and usually at the wrong time. And that's one of the whole thing behind Trend Profits, is we're trying to take the emotion out of the equation, right? You do want to be invested more often than not invested, but knowing those times when you should be out, it's huge. And that's exactly what we're providing. But yes, so you always see these charts out there. Oh, what would happen if you missed the 10 best days? Right? And they're right. Those charts are right. If you miss the 10 best days in a 20-year period, that has an insane impact on your longer term wealth. The problem with these graphs are they also assume that you were there for the worst 10 days, right? No one ever says, okay, well, what happens if we take out the best 10 and we take out the worst 10? Well, actually, if you do that, you actually outperform. Had you been, not by much, you outperformed, I think, by, I think it was 400% instead of 370. So you outperformed by 30% over a 23-year period, which is actually pretty significant. So all of a sudden, okay, there is value to know this.
So the point there is to, if you remove the 10 best days and the 10 worst days, you outperform, which means that the 10 worst days actually has a higher impact. That's really interesting.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So it leads you to the question, what's more important to you? Missing the 10 worst days or not missing the 10 best days?
Yeah.
And the point is, missing the worst days does a lot more for wealth creation in the long run than not missing the best.
Nice.
So what if you can get the best of both worlds? What if you, instead of being there for all 10 of the worst days, you're only there for 5 of them?
Yeah.
Does that make a big difference? And the answer is absolutely. And that's just the 5 worst days. When you start factoring in, the other bad days that happen around those bad days, because those graphs only show you the 10 worst days. They don't show you, if you lose 7% one day, you could lose 2% the next day. And because volatility, there's clustering, in it, and that's what our algorithm does. It tries to identify these these high volatility clusters, couple that with the signal processing algorithm, and you get one of the most accurate trend lines you've ever seen. So, and this is something I've been working on for a long time, and luckily the technology is, it's 10 years ago. I think a lot of what I just built was not 100% possible. I had ideas I was researching, but the true power of this has only really come out in the past 5-6 years when I started seeing all the, the new technologies, and with Python, the new
and the open source community keeping on building, like, Streamlit.
And I do love the community.
Plotly, yeah.
Oh, this community is great. I mean, it's something that, one thing that I love about it, and the more and more as I interact with more founders like us, it's just, I love the community and the way we try and help each other out. I mean, I think, it's fun. It's fun, and I love it.
Look, Cordell, thank you so much for your time. This was really nice to talk with you again in this setting. I mean, you are obviously an OpenBB champion, leveraging OpenBB, and from OpenBB, we wish you all the best. And whatever we can help with to have joint profits being successful, let us know. And thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Didier. I'm happy to be here. Thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you for OpenBB. And anything that I can do to help. I've got a lot, of ideas and experience. I'd be more than happy to share with you guys to help you get to where you need to go, where you want to be.
Thank you.